female characters. Like, in the same as with TV and film, although they became, I think, more popular in TV and film. But like any woman who, I mean, I think the trope is like any woman over 40 who's still talking, or or like any woman who falls outside the parameters of what we. And I was reminded of how fiction, particularly young people's fiction, has dealt with this so much better. Wrinkle in Time, when we meet Meg Murray, she's got a black eye because she punched a kid. There's a bunch of like tough, scrappy scout from To Kill a Mockingbird.
Cassie from Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lyra from His Dark Materials. All of them.
Yes.
Given really difficult circumstances and have to fight through it.
Yes. Yeah. Was there a Tess were you friends with a Tess? What was the role of girls in your young life?
Everything.
Yeah.
And I gravitated toward them and I loved them and they were nice. They were nice to me.
Yeah.
And I did grow up outside of New York City and there were a lot of mixed race families. That was normal.
Right.
I mean, the white people still had all the privilege,
Right.
but there was still a lot of mixed race around me.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Right.
And I really loved those mixed race girls who were just quiet and strong, you know. They wouldn't say much until something happened, but they would just get up and like punch a boy in the back of the head. You know?
But not you.
Huh? No, not me. No. So there was some of that came in.
Yeah.
And there was a mixture of a lot of the tween protagonists that we just talked about.
Right.
Yeah. And there was also a lot of just not, as a writer, not judging it as it happened and just letting it happen. Because like even writing that scene, I was like, she can't push the vet.
Right.
She can't throw things off the counter.
Right.
She can't do this. She can't do that.
Right.
You know, you're writing a kid's book. You know, that all that stuff. And I constantly kept having to say, no, leave me alone.
Right.
Leave me alone. Especially because I was in school at the time, reading a lot of books.
Right. And talking about
a lot of books. And this was being workshopped to within an inch of his life.
Ooh.
Yeah, and there were plenty of people who were just like,
Yeah.
absolutely loved Tess and the world that was created, and other people who were like, you can't do this.
Right. As a dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Can't write a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah. Yes. You can't write a 12-year-old mixed race girl and talk about her body and talk about mental illness and talk about all this kind of stuff. What a lot of people didn't know about me, at program was if you tell me I can't do something.
Right. So, what happened to the cat leads to going home that night and finding this voice, the voice of the protagonist.
Yeah.
She's going to go looking for the cat.
Yeah.
There's a lot of animism in the book,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of wondered about that role in your reading, whether things like Golden Compass were in your head.
Yes. I mean, my favorite books as a kid, Watership Down,
Right.
obsessed with the rabbits.
Watership Down.
And you know what's so prophetic about that book is I feel like that book, when it came into my life, after I read it, I watched the movie. You know, the scene at the end of the book, Hazel is visited by the Black Rabbit of Inlay, who's kind of like the rabbit god who comes down to carry him off to his new destiny.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
That touched me so profoundly as a kid. It was almost like the universe was letting me know what was in store for me.
Right.
That not too long after that, I would face a crushing loss that would define the rest of my life. That rabbit god, and you know, that's probably the tattoo I'll end up getting when I get a new tattoo. The rabbits, Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. Holy shit, those rats hanging out underneath with a city of electricity? I was freaking out. Oh my god, that was, and the little mice. I mean, the fact that they had experiments on them. Richard Adam had another book called The Plague Dogs, which was about these, oh my God, The Plague Dogs are about these dogs that have been having experiments done on them, and they escape into the wild. You know, Charlotte's Web. Come on, Charlotte's Web.
Right.
All those books, and then when I came across Philip Pullman's world, he created a universe of people whose souls exist in external form as an animal.
Right.
And I cried my eyes out through those books.
There's an interesting thing that happens with Tess in this book where she got it like as a party favor. It's a bully blaster in the shape of a monkey. So it's like a monkey that you press on and it goes like really loudly to deter anyone who's messing. And I thought, that's her demon. This violent kid has a bully, that's the bully inside her. And the cat is like, in a way, her mom's demon, a piece of. So that's in your head as you're drafting.
Oh yeah.
And then tell me about the Scooby Gang and how they kind of, how you sort of added these. Tess there's Eddie, yeah. Who's, like you said, the town, sort of the town baseball player who's now a little bit the town fool. And then she has a kind of a Dill character almost like
yeah. He's totally Dill in a lot of ways, Cotter Wingham,
Yes, so Cotter is in love with Tess, and he's like the consummate theater kid.
Yeah, improv genius, does impersonations, and basically, they need his help to cause distractions in mayhem. And so he bargains with her and says, I'll do it if you go to, he's obsessed with horror movies and comic books and stuff, and he says, I'll do all this stuff if you agree to go to the Creature double feature with me. And she's like, great. And he has a father who used to be a special effects guy in Hollywood and stuff, so.
Yeah, it's like a delicious, when they show up at the vet, I'm not giving you anything away, but when they show up at the veterinarians, Cotter impersonates someone who's looking after his squirrel and like comes out with a southern accent. He just feels it.
Yeah.
He's like, a squirrel. She's gonna die. Help me. And Tess is like, okay, it's southern now. And then, like any good child of the 80s, you throw in some goths.
I mean, I was waiting for that to come in because that was me as a teenager.
Were you a goth?
Totally. I'm still a goth. It's not so much on the outside, but the inside part of me. It will always be there. That music.
You sweat goth.
Yeah, I sweat goth.
Yeah.
I sweat black glitter. I sweat Susie and the Banshees song. When I found that and became that, I found some armor for the first time in my life, and everybody started to leave me alone. And I found some meaning in stuff that was happening to me through that music. That music meant a lot to me. When I discovered Robert Smith and Peter Murphy and Susie Sue, and Kate Bush. And Joy Division, and later, some of the others like Nine Inch Nails and PJ Harvey and Bjork, and they're completely themselves.
Yeah.
They're so singular as beings, and they're doing something that only people who are meant to understand it.
Yeah.
How can I be that?
Right. And loneliness has like a hook and a kick drum.
Yeah, and so I wanted to find a way to let those goth kids in, and goth kids are very theatrical.
Right.
And
it's very performative.
Yeah, and Luna is very, she's the daughter of like a famous psychic TV medium, and trying to find her own identity in the shadow of her mother. Yeah. And they're loosely based on kids that I grew up, goths that I grew up around. Yeah. But they also have more like. They want help.
Right.
Everybody in this book wants to help.
They do.
Yeah. And so at first there's some tension, but then they kind of come together. Everybody's irrevocably changed because of this cat.
Right. There's
Yeah.
some strains of religiosity
Yeah.
in the book too. We know that Tessa's parents are sort of lapsed Catholics.
Yeah.
There's communication with the dead, and there's
Yeah.
a very angry, lonely ghost
Yeah.
in this house. I wondered how religion worked for you in this book, or sorry,
Yeah.
do you want me to lie down on the couch? Was
The
that
couch matches my.
It's very well done.
There you go.
It's like it was done.
That was good. Did you do that, Simon? That's good.
Absolutely, of course.
Fog couch.
Yeah, it's a fog couch.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up very Catholic, but it did not work for me. It was how I broke my parents' heart, because I would go to religion, and we'd be after school, we'd be waiting in line to go in. I would just get beat up and called a faggot, and just terrible. These kids were terrible. So I stopped going. The bus would drop us off, and I would just go down into Fort Jeff and hang out on the beach and collect shells and stuff. And then it came time for me to tell my parents, I'm not making my confirmation because I haven't been going. And they were like, you devil! You devil! Yeah, so I didn't, I wanted religion in there,
Right,
but
but
not,
to keep it, to not burden her with that as well.
yeah, I wanted her to find her own thing. It's a world full of faith.
Yeah.
We live in a world full of faith, and I just don't agree with it being inflicted on you.
Right.
So I wanted to try and have a B or C plot where that's a component. And for me, as somebody who's been